Hey there, year 8. So this is, I'm going to do examples, lots of examples for exercise 9F, what we did in class today. What we did was to look at gradients, yeah? So I introduced you back to the whole idea of y equals to mx plus c, and I said that I wanted you to learn how to find m, and I gave you a rule. The rule for m was m was equivalent to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to use this formula with the graphs that you have at the moment, but eventually you want to be able to use this formula because you don't always get the graph. And so then you need to know how to do it without a graph, and all you need is just 2 points. Okay, so let's do this together. So copy this formula down to start off with. y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Okay, let's do, once you're copying that down, I'm going to do, and you can pause the video, and now I'm going to do example 3a. Okay, so example 3a. In this graph, you only need 2 points. Pick any 2 points you want. Okay, so I'm going to pick 2 points. I'm going to pick, clearly there's this one that's the most obvious, 1, 3. And then I'm also going to pick this point here, 0, 0. Some people might choose this point over here, and that's essentially -1, and this is -3 here, so -1, -3. So you can see -1, that's -2, so that means that's -3. So you can choose that point too if you want, but I'm going to pick these two, and it actually doesn't matter which one you do, it should still give you the same answer. Okay, so how do we do this? So we got 2 points. I'm going to pick 1, 3. Okay, so this is my 2 points, 1, 3, and 0, 0. Okay, now remember, and I know this might be a bit confusing when you're listening to me, but when I say it doesn't matter which one is the first or second point, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to say it again. It doesn't matter if this is the first or second, it doesn't matter. Okay, it could have been the other way around. It could have been second and first. Okay, so what do I mean by this? When you determine which one is the first and which one's the second, so let's say we do this, right? Then this is the x coordinate for the first one, and this is the y coordinate for the first point. So we label it with the subscript of 1 so that people know this is the first point. Then the same thing over here. In the second point, this is the x coordinate, and this is also the y coordinate, but we write 2 so that people know it's the second point. But it actually doesn't matter which one is the first or second. You can flip it around if you wanted to, okay? Now, once I've labeled it, you can then use the formula that I gave you. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? So if I follow this formula, what we have here is which one is y2? So y2, clearly y2 is over here, and that's representative of 0. So I'm going to put 0 in, 0 minus, which one's my y1? So let's have a look. Y1 is over here, and that's representative of 3. So when I write it down, it's minus 3 divided by, now hopefully you're starting to see the pattern, which one's my x2? Which one is my x2? Which one did I label as x2? And hopefully you can see that x2 is up here. That's my 0. That's my 0 line. So then I'd say, okay, well then that's 0 again, minus, and which one's my x1? And hopefully you can see that x1 is clearly the value of 1. So I'm going to minus 1 over here. Okay, so let's put it together. 0 minus 3, -3. 0 minus 1, -1. Okay, and what is -3 divided by -1? 3 divided by 1 is 3, and the double negatives is positive. So what we figured out is that m is equivalent to 3. That means in the equation I gave you before, remember how I said that this straight line is y equals to mx plus c. There are only 2 parameters that you need to know, m and c, and you've just done the first step and you found m to be 3. That means your equation at the moment, you've got y equals 3x plus c. Now, I haven't taught you how to find c yet. Okay, I'll be showing you that in our next lesson. But right now, this is what I want you to be able to do. Okay, so to find m. Now, you can find m without the algebra here. This is what I do want you to learn. This is important. Okay, more important than what I'm about to show you. Okay, you can get the same answer by looking at the graph. So we know that I gave you the formula, but before I gave you the formula, I said that m was equal to y divided by x. In one of your exercises, remember I said this was the pattern for y, and this was the pattern for x, right? So in exercise 9b, you were okay with looking at the pattern, and then you put it in and you got your m value, right? Well, here, you can now look at this and you can say, well, what's the pattern horizontally? What's the distance from this point to this point? We can see that the x value, to go from 0 all the way to the x value of 1, that's a distance of 1. I know some of you might be a bit confused with what I just said now. And then the y value, you started off at 0 here, and the y value here is 3. So when I ask you what's the distance vertically between those 2 points, you can see that it is plus 3. It goes up by 3, right? So m, you can actually figure it out by looking at the graph and say that it is 1 across, 3 up. Okay, so m, so 1 across and 3 up, and that's the same answer as what we just got before. So you're thinking, why didn't we just do this before? We can, but later on you won't be given the graph and you need to figure out the equation. So that's why you need to be able to do this first, okay? So I know this seems a bit easier if you understand what I'm saying. I'll do another one with the graph. So here we go. You got 2, 2, and let's pick another point. I'm going to pick 0, 0, okay? So let's look horizontally. How far? See, this is where the line stops here. So from here to here, what is the distance from here to here? So hopefully you can see that the distance is 2. Yeah, because I'm really going, the x coordinates, I'm going from 0 to 2, right? 0, and that's 2 there, so that's a distance of 2. And then vertically, what is my distance? Vertically, what is this distance here, right? And we can see that it's starting off, the y value is starting at 0 and it ends up at 2, which is over here. So the vertical distance clearly is 2 again. So when you answer the question, you see this is up 2, so plus 2 to go up, plus 2 to go to the right. So when you answer the question, what is m? M is equal to the y value, pattern for y, and the pattern for x. The pattern for y was plus 2 up. Pattern for x was plus 2 across. So what is m, which is the gradient? M is 2 divided by 2, which is 1. Okay, so for some of us, that might be easier to look at the graph. I'll do another one just so they reinforce your understanding. Let's say this one now. If I wanted to find m, remember, you need to find the pattern for y and the pattern for x, right? So what's the pattern for y and the pattern for x? So the y, so this is the point. I'm starting from this here to this. I'm going to pick another point. So this point here. So what's the vertical distance? And then what's the horizontal distance, right? So hopefully you can see here, this is a distance of 2 and this is a distance of 1. So it's gone up by 1. Okay, so this is across 2, up by 1. So if I were to answer it, horizontally I went across 2, vertically I went up 1. So my m value is equal to half. See that? So that's how you would do it graphically. So you're like, sir, but then why are we even doing this algebra? It takes so long to do. Well, it's because you're not always going to get a graph. And say this example down here, this is what you'll be working with majority of the time. So you'll be given 2 coordinates and students need to find out m. Okay, and this is where I find students struggle because they're so used to relying on a graph and they don't know how to sketch the graph because they don't have their algebra, and that's why it, snowballs into I don't know what to do. So that's why I'm teaching you the algebra. I know it's uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean you give up. You keep doing what I've been teaching you, okay? So I'm going to go back up. Let's do these algebraically again, okay? So pick 2 points. So the 2 points I picked were 2, 2. So I've got 2 and 2, and then I've got 0 and 0. So let's do this all over again. 0, 0, and 2, 2. So I'm going to do the algebraic method now. Okay. Remember, you got to pick which one is the first point. So I'm going to call this my first point. Doesn't matter which one is your first or second. You can choose anyone. And now if I called that the first one, this is then x1, y1. This is then x2, y2, because that's the x corner of the second point. That's the y corner of the second point. Using my formula that I gave you, m is equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1, right? So here we go. What is my y2? So hopefully you're picking up on this pattern from before. Y2 is 2. Minus, what's my y1? Y1's over here. That's 0. Over x2, what is my x2? X2 is 2 again. Minus, what is my x1? X1 is 0. And look at that. I'm getting 2 minus 0 is 2. 2 minus 0 again is 2. And m is equal to 2 divided by 2, which is 1. So what this means is your equation is mx plus c, right? M is 1, so 1x plus c. That's all you've currently got now. I haven't taught you how to find c yet, but that's what you found out. You found out m is 1, okay? And now let's have a look in comparison to what we had before. So if you have a look, if m was equal to 1, let's see. Can you see I've got m equals 1, and this is also m equals 1. So you can do it graphically or you can do it algebraically, and I want you to do it algebraically, okay? Or you can do it both if you can, all right? So let's do this together again. So I'm going to do another example. So over here, remember, we got the answer of half, right? Oh, wow, it looks so messy. We got the answer of half graphically over here. Again, you just need to pick 2 points. And it looks like I'm going to pick 2, 1. And I'm going to pick this point over here, which is clearly 0, 0. You only need 2 points to do this. So I've got 2, 1, and 0, 0. Okay? Label which one you want to be the first or second. Doesn't matter. So I can call this the first if I wanted to. And this can be the second if I wanted to. Right? If that's true, this is the x coordinate for the first one. This is the y coordinate for the first one. This is the x coordinate for the second one. And this is the y coordinate for the second one. So to answer the question using the rule, m is equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So, based on the pattern, y2, which is 1, minus, so y2 is over here for those who aren't keeping up. So 1 minus y1, which was 0, divided by x2. Okay, so x2 is over here. That's a 2. Minus, which one's my x1? This one, which is 0. And you can see that you end up with 1 minus 0 is 1, and 2 minus 0 is 2, and you get the same answer as what I had over here. See? Okay, so it doesn't matter which way you do it, you should still get it right. Even if you swapped it around, it would still be the same answer. So watch. If I said, instead of 0, 0 being the first one, say I did this, 2, 1, and 0, 0. Have a look, even when I switch it around. So if I made this the first one, and I made this the second one, this would be then x1, y1. This is then x2, y2. Watch what happens. Same thing. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? So let's see what I've got. y2, which is 0, minus y1. So I'm going to write that down. y2 is 0, minus y1, which is 1, divided by x2. So this is x2. Take away x1. So you're really saying it's 0, take away 2. So you might say, well, actually, that looks different, actually. 0 minus 1 is negative 1, and then 0 minus 2 is negative 2. But don't forget that when you divide them, double negatives is positive. So you get the exact same answer. See what I mean? Doesn't matter which one you choose. So hopefully in this example here, you're hopefully understanding what you need to do. I want you to pick 2 coordinates, okay, and do exactly what I've just been doing. You can do it graphically and you can do it algebraically, but I want you to do it algebraically, okay? You can add on the graphical component to it as well, but you must be able to do it algebraically so that you can do these questions down here. So these E, G, I, K, F, H, J are extension questions. They're from the enrichment questions, which really isn't that enriched. It's just 2 points without a graph. That's it. That's the only extra step that you're doing, which we've been doing this whole time, right? So that's what I want you to be able to do. I want you to focus on how to complete. I'm just going to delete this so it doesn't become too confusing. There you go. That's what I want you to do for this exercise. So this is for 9F. Okay, so when you're doing 9F, I want you to do question 3, question 4, and then at the end here, there are the extension questions. Okay, so these are the extension questions, whereas these ones are 4 and 3. And if you're going to ask me, do I have to do extension? Yes, you do. Okay, I'm all about pushing you forward, and really it's the same thing. There's no difference. This has a graph, and you're still using 2 coordinates to answer the questions. You're going to be using 2 coordinates to answer the questions. Now, what some of you might find difficult is your fraction skills. Okay, it's not to do with the fact that, okay, maybe what's optional for those who are weak with the fractions, or at least not comfortable with their fractions, you can ignore that section. Okay, but always challenge yourself where you can. So if you're okay with fractions, I still want you to be able to have a go. Okay, otherwise, I do expect everyone to be able to do these extended questions, A, C, B, D. You can ignore these ones, okay? But I expect that you have a go with the enrichment questions, and for those who are more confident, you can then try the ones with fractions, okay? All right, I'm going to leave you there. That's how you do this exercise. Let me know if you'd like more examples, and please watch my videos for exercise 9E as well. This is going to be really cool to show you how to use your chapter 7 skills if you haven't watched exercise 9E videos. Okay? All right. I hope these videos are helpful for you. Have a wonderful one.